I have the pleasure for moderating this session today, and it's part of our broader mission to explore bold and collaborative solutions for bridging the digital divide, particularly in communities that lack of reliable connectivity and high-quality internet access. Even digital infrastructure continue to expand around the world. Many people remain offline, especially in the rural and remote regions. This is not only a development issue in today's world of the digital communication, it's a strategic, economic, and moral challenge that we must address together. Our focus today in this session will be leveraging on the space-based connectivity, including innovations such as low Earth orbit satellite constellations to bring scalable, affordable access to the last mile. Technology is only part of this solution, but not everything. So we need to enable more regulatory frameworks, innovation in business model, and a strong partnership between public and private sectors. We are fortunate today to have an outstanding panelists with us in this session who are working on the cutting edge of these issues, and they bring their expertise across regulatory policy and space satellite technology and real-world deployment of connectivity solutions. So please join me to welcome at the stage Mr. Chris Hofer, International Space Spectrum Strategy at Amazon Kuiper, Mr. Alex Baird, the Director of Space Sector at Deloitte, and Mrs. Tatiana Lawrence, the Vice President of Regulatory Affairs at Iridium, Mr. Fazlı Kaybal, the Spectrum and Regulatory Affairs Manager at Planis. So before we dive into the discussion, I would like first to acknowledge that this session is co-hosted by Amazon Kuiper, and we are very grateful for their support in bringing this conversation together. So I just want to pass over to Chris to just give a framing opening remarks. Chris, go ahead. Yes.
All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Delighted to be here today to share our vision for Amazon Project Kuiper. Let me start with the striking observation. For nearly 40 years, satellite technology remained relatively unchanged, dominated by traditional geostationary satellites operating at 36,000 kilometers above the Earth. But today we're witnessing an unprecedented transformation in the satellite communications industry. The transformation is being driven by several factors: an unprecedented level of private investment and innovation, the rise of large constellations in low Earth orbit, innovation in GEO, including high-throughput satellite technologies and multi-orbit models, and new players are bringing fresh perspectives and competition. This unprecedented innovation and investment in the satellite communications industry is unleashing tremendous benefits for consumers. Huge increases in speed, capacity, large reductions in cost, and new business models are leading to millions of new customers connecting the internet via satellite. So LEO satellites with orbits closer to the Earth can provide high-speed connectivity with latency less than 50 milliseconds. Because of the lower latency, LEO satellites can support many critical modern broadband applications, such as real-time video conferencing, telehealth, and gaming, etc. As we all know, bringing more people online has tremendous benefits for this individuals, families, and can now learn online, work online, shop online, communicate online, and join today's digital economy. LEO satellites offer several advantages over traditional satellite systems. Reduced latency. LEO satellites orbit much closer to Earth than geostationary satellites, resulting in significantly lower latency. This means faster data transmission speeds and more responsive applications. Higher data throughput. LEO satellites can transmit more data at higher speeds compared to GEO satellites. This is particularly beneficial for applications that require large amounts of data transfer, such as high-definition video streaming and remote sensing. Improved global coverage. LEO satellite constellations can provide near global coverage, especially in remote areas where terrestrial infrastructure is limited or non-existent. This enables better connectivity for people in rural and underserved regions. And enhanced resilience. LEO constellations are more resilient to failures than single satellite systems. If one satellite malfunctions, others can take over, ensuring continuous service. Currently, we witness the existence of more than 6,000 satellites operated safely by one satellite operator. At Amazon, we believe that having multiple LEO operators will promote a competitive market, drive innovation, and ultimately benefit consumers and businesses by providing better services, lower costs, and wider coverage. If Amazon believed that this was a zero-sum game, there is no way we would have invested more than $10 billion dollars in Project Kuiper. We believe the excitement is in expanding the relevance of satellite broadband services to reach more people. We believe there will be multiple winners in satellite connectivity at large. There are billions of people on Earth without reliable broadband, and we'll need multiple satellite connectivity solutions to connect even a fraction of those customers. Thank you.
Thank Chris for the opening remarks, and I would start our panel with the first question to Mr. Chris. So, what regulatory or licensing barriers does Project Kuiper most frequently face when entering new markets, and how regulators create a regulatory environment truly enabling for space-based broadband solutions like Kuiper?
All right. So thank you for the question. Amazon has launched 102 satellites in 4 months for our low Earth orbit broadband network. Its mission is to provide fast, affordable connectivity to unserved and underserved communities around the world. Achieving our goals to expand global connectivity will take more than just cutting-edge satellites and rockets. We also need supportive regulatory environment. So I'm pleased to be here at the GSR to engage with so many of the world's leading regulatory authorities to share ideas and perspectives. To facilitate more effective and efficient deployment of non-GSO satellite services, regulators can take several steps that address key barriers in the current regulatory landscape. These include streamlining satellite regulations, rationalizing rules around foreign direct investment, and modernizing spectrum management techniques. So first, streamlining NGSO satellite licensing processes is essential. One key way to streamline regulations is avoid implementing landing rights regimes. Landing rights are rooted in an age when satellite systems are nationally or internationally owned. Today, they are redundant with other licensing requirements, create unnecessary burden to operators and regulators, and can be used to stifle competition and innovation of new services. A second way to streamline is to create a simplified authorization procedures, such as general authorization and blanket licensing regimes for licensing of user terminals and earth stations. Blanket licensing significantly reduces administrative burdens and accelerates service rollout by allowing for a widespread deployment of customer terminals without requiring site-by-site approval. Second, regulators should address foreign direct investment restrictions. FDI limits in the telecommunications sector can hinder investment in NGSO systems and ground infrastructure. Regulators should consider relaxing these restrictions, recognizing the global nature of NGSO networks and the significant capital requirements for deployment. Third, regulators should modernize spectrum management practices to ensure that this valuable resource is used in the most efficient manner by technologies that can deliver connectivity to other citizens. Regulators should work towards more flexible and dynamic spectrum allocation mechanisms that reflect the nature of NGSO constellations. Given the global nature of technology, telecommunications, regulators should align with ITU standards in order to facilitate the delivery of global systems, reduce barriers to entry, and ensure economies of scale for new technologies so that they benefit more economies and more users. A critical aspect of modern spectrum management practices is reforming outdated rules surrounding equivalent power flux density limits, EPFD, for non-GSO operators. These EPFD limits enshrined in Article 22 of the IT regulations were developed over 25 years ago based on technical assumptions of non-GSO systems that have never been placed into operations. The limits are the most impactful regulation of the ability of non-GSO systems to provide broadband service to as many users as possible. They can be updated without harming incumbent GSO operators. The WRC 23 invited technical studies on the EPFD limits, and it is critical to provide a technical review of the EPFD limits to understand whether they are spectrally efficient when considering modern satellite systems and modern spectrum management principles. Several key studies that have been carried out in Working Party 4A, for example, show there is significant margin with respect to the restrictions that the EPFD limits place on non-GSO systems and the protection required for GSO operations. So we certainly invite regulators to take an objective look at the results of these studies to determine if there is an opportunity to continue to protect existing services while increasing capacity and reducing costs for new broadband satellite service offerings. And the emergence of non-GSO satellite systems like Amazon Project Kuiper represents a key opportunity for regulators to help enable partnerships that can greatly improve connectivity, particularly in developing markets. Rather than viewing non-GSO systems as competitors to incumbent mobile network operators and ISPs, Regulators should recognize them as natural partners in achieving universal connectivity goals. By working together, these operators can create coverage solutions that neither could be achieved alone. Incumbent mobile operators and ISPs excel at providing high-capacity services in populated areas and have established valuable customer relationships. Non-GSO satellites, meanwhile, can extend the coverage to areas where terrestrial infrastructure is economically challenging to deploy. These partnerships are particularly powerful in rural and remote communities. Rather than requiring massive infrastructure investments to reach remote or rural areas, local operators can leverage non-GSO partnerships to expand their coverage footprint. This approach accelerates digital inclusion at the fraction of the traditional cost. Local operators maintain their crucial customer relationships while gaining the ability to serve previously unreachable populations. At Amazon, we're committed to working with public and private sector partners to share our commitment at bridging the digital divide. Kuiper is teaming with local and regional partners to reliably connect even more people in more places. For example, we'll use Kuiper satellite connectivity to provide links between remote cellular towers and the core networks. Traditionally, MNOs would make these links using fiber or fixed wireless technology. Using satellite connectivity will enable MNOs to connect rural and remote locations without the time and expense of installing fiber or fixed wireless infrastructure. As a result, operators can extend the 4G, 5G cellular service to more regions much faster. Last month, for example, we signed an agreement with NBN Co. to transform internet access across regional, rural, and remote Australia. We have also announced strategic collaboration through which Vodafone and Vodacom will use Project Kuiper's networks to extend and reach 4G and 5G services to more of their customers in Europe and Africa. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chris, for sharing that holistic view about regulatory directions and Amazon efforts toward that. So I will move now to the other area of the discussion, focusing more on the financing and partnership with Mr. Alex. So, Mr. Alex, how can innovative financing models and PPPs de-risk investments in the last mile satellite connectivity?
Is my mic working?
Yeah. The green.
Thank you very much, and I'd just like to begin by expressing my thanks for having Deloitte on the panel, and look forward to it providing some perspectives and views from our space practice, who work across satellite network operators, mobile network operators, and governments, and from some of my own personal experiences of working to accelerate rural connectivity solutions in the United Kingdom. When considering investment models, I think it's first important to keep in mind the problem that is trying to be solved, and that improved connectivity, not urban migration, is the best way to help people in the world's rural areas develop. 60% of population of low-income countries are rural. 80% population below the poverty line are in rural areas, lacking basic access to education and healthcare. Rural areas also contain most of the planet's natural capital, and so the benefits of enhancing rural connectivity are manifest and broad. They provide rural connectivity solutions provide income and employment, diversifying and developing the rural economy and decongesting urban areas. Environment and climate change, creating a low-carbon economy by decoupling economic growth from resource usage. And for example, in Ireland, it's been found that precision agriculture using low Earth orbit satellite technology has reduced emissions by up to 10%. Infrastructure and services, rural connectivity solutions provide and enable vibrant rural economies with access to basic services such as health, education and transport to reduce disparity. Also provide social inclusion, opportunities to fully participate in economic, social and cultural life. The benefits are manifest, and we have a great opportunity to improve the standard of living for billions of people across the world, extending urban benefits through in situ urbanization. However, the economics underlying rural connectivity are challenging. On the supply side, the costs are relatively higher on a per subscriber basis, and on the demand side, for direct revenue generated by rural networks investment is often insufficient to cover that investment, and hence the need for intervention. On aggregate, the effect of relatively higher costs on a per subscriber and relatively lower subscriber revenues make the commercial case for rural networks more challenging. And I've really found that brought to life through my own work in advancing rural connectivity solutions in the United Kingdom. When interviewing a mobile network operator, it was said very clearly the crude economics and technical calculations looking at communities, at these rural communities, and you think that there would be, that while a business case, you would think, why would you invest within that area? And also the huge squeeze on the telecoms market currently makes it hard for operators to say yes. So when you turn to look at the funding models which are proving successful, there really are a variety. Some of the base public subsidies, voucher schemes, are proving effective and popular. And we have that in the United Kingdom through a gigabit voucher scheme, which provides up to £4,500 for a satellite-based installation. They're generally effective, but have many gaps in coverage, and particularly for satellite-based solutions, do not always factor in the ongoing OPEX costs. A lot of my focus has been around community and co-production and creating co-investment environments and understanding better the investment thesis for intervention by working closely with local residents and businesses to pool demand and negotiate and spread the financial risk and build goodwill. I was actually camping this weekend on Friday before I came out to Riyadh in one of the locations where we've been piloting a rural connectivity solution. And in this instance, this was with a rural railway with a business of £15 million per year, where we've implemented a low Earth orbit solution to provide connectivity and enhance the user experience and provide cashless cash payment systems. And again, the devil is often in the detail here in terms of, for a mobile network operator, a satellite network operator, it's not viable to come into these small businesses, and it's complex as how you bring the value pools together. Hybrid public-private partnerships also, blended funding models combined with community, again, share risk and share reward and proving very effective. There are also emerging and speculative models, potentially in the future fair share infra payments where large tariff generators contribute to the financing were invested through our program. And in addition, flexibility pay-as-you-go may emerge for the operators. I think whatever the investment and the intervention, really the key considerations are for a satellite installation, the ongoing service costs, the coordination of demand, and that policy and regulatory clarity are provided.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Alex, for sharing this interested information and about the partnership and funding models. It's so exciting. So I'll move now to Mrs. Tatiana, and we'll deepen more toward licensing and regulatory coordination. So how can satellite providers better coordinate with the telecom regulators to address spectrum constraints and licensing across markets? Yeah.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here today to discuss regulatory considerations and satellite licensing matters, especially for non-terrestrial networks. First of all, we all recognize the urgent need to close the connectivity gap. 2.6 billion worldwide is still unconnected, and satellites are uniquely positioned to help this divide, to deliver service when networks are unconnected or impossible, terrestrial services impossible to deploy. Iridium is a global satellite operator, and from Iridium perspective, coordination with regulators is absolutely central to closing the connectivity gap. And we see three pillars where satellite providers and regulators can work together more effectively. First of all, clarity of models. So a good example would be to talk about satellite D2D services. We need to distinguish between globally harmonized MSS mobile satellite service spectrum, which include direct-to-device and safety communications, and on the other hand, the satellite use of terrestrial spectrum, which requires a lot of technical studies to make sure there is no harmful interference. Confusing the two creates unnecessary regulatory barriers. And regulators can help by recognizing MSS globally coordinated status and avoid duplication and licensing burdens. So that would allow for faster deployment of services in countries. Second is spectrum harmonization. We know that regulators face pressure to allocate scarce resources across so many competing demands. And for satellites to scale globally, we need harmonized spectrum to use it and streamline approvals. So for services using MSS spectrum, we think that existing regulatory frameworks are typically sufficient. These services do not require additional spectrum studies, new international coordinations, and it's important that regulators should recognize that existing MSS allocations and protections are already adequate and in place since MSS operate in the same spectrum. This would simplify the regulatory process and approvals for NTN, direct-to-device services. And the third one I want to mention is practical licensing reforms. Many of the hurdles operators face, and I think a lot of operators here agree with me, is requirements to establish local entities, build costly gateways, pay high spectrum fees, or complies with onerous licensing conditions, make it very hard for global operators to bring satellite service to countries, especially in the smaller markets. Streamlining these processes and focusing on light touch or technology-neutral rules will allow satellites to complement terrestrial work more efficiently. In short, the better coordination comes from open dialogue and recognition of global nature of satellite services. If regulators and providers can align early and discuss it often, we can unlock the spectrum and make the service affordable and expand the access to satellite services everywhere without a delay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Tatiana. So now we'll give some part of innovation discussion, Mr. Fazli. So, what role can emerging players like planners in enabling meaningful rural connectivity, and how can regulators support new entrants to the markets?
Thank you. Thank you for the questions, and thank you for having me in this panel. And I will start with the questions by addressing your questions. What a meaningful connectivity is, and we believe that a connectivity is a meaningful rural connectivity when it is affordable, reliable, and transformative. And actually, we are based on a global standards such as LoRaWAN and NB-IoT technologies. This enable us to benefit from economies of scale, and which also enables us to produce our end devices at lower cost. This is very important for enabling users benefit from IoT technologies. The second, actually, we are designing and developing our solutions and solutions in-house. And these vertical integrations enable us to have lower prices to our customers. And reliability comes with the nature of satellite services. And with reliability, we are providing full coverage, full global coverage, and robustness and resilience of satellite connectivity, bringing to communities and businesses. And we have also extensively tested our solutions in the field. Then we provide these solutions to our customers before operations. We have currently 17 satellites, and we aim to launch more than 100 satellites, which enable us to have lower average revisit time and support millions of devices. And most of the use cases in IoT world is supported with lower average revisit time. Therefore, we are aiming to realize multiple use cases, and we believe that this enables transform societies. And the question is, what is the role of planners satisfying rural and remote connectivity? And we believe that our solution is innovative. We are using very low power to communicate with satellites, which is very important for IoT solutions. as operational expenditure of IoT solutions is very important, and as we are using very low power, our batteries can last for more than 5 years. This is also important for IoT users. And additionally, we are based on global standards. These are LoRaWAN and 3GPP standards, and these enable us to complement terrestrial networks based on these technologies. And we have also not providing connectivity. We are providing solutions to our customers. Therefore, we are addressing each demand coming to us, and we are tailoring our solutions depending on our customer requirements. And this is our solutions that we are providing to our customers. Our solution is affordable, reliable, transformative, complementing the terrestrial networks, and innovative. And the important questions is that how regulators can help us. And this is very important because everything is meaningless if you do not access the spectrum. The first asset is to getting spectrum license or getting access to spectrum. And we are using LoRaWAN standards, and we need to access the SRD bands. And this is very innovative approach, and recently CPT has studied this and published an ECC decision which enable us to use SRD bands when we are communicating with satellites. And additionally, spectrum sharing is also important, and administrations, regulators should pay attention to this. And for instance, Australian administrations dedicates 2 times 5 megahertz portion of bandwidth on a shared basis. This is very important, and this promotes competition in the market, and this eventually benefits to all customers and citizens of that country. And second element that regulators consider that they make ease of access market. And Tatiana also mentioned that high landing rights or high spectrum fees actually are burdens especially for emerging operators, not incumbent operators. Incumbent operators or large-scale operators can combat with these fees or local entity or local gateway requirements, but emerging operators actually cannot afford to cover these requirements. Therefore, regulators should promote competition in the market by enabling easy access to their markets. And we believe that regulators should promote competition in the market by making simple, clear, and transparent rules, especially for emerging operators. Finally, I would like to stress that regulatory sandbox applications are very important for emerging operators. And I would like to thank CST for regularly implementing sandbox applications, because we have a chance to test our solutions in the field, and this is very important. And actually, for instance, CST also promoting partnership between local operators or local companies and satellite operators. And actually, this is very important for us. At least we are also looking for partners in the market, and this also enable us to have test our potential partners in the fields. And I would like to thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Fazli, for sharing these insightful comments, and I hope that you really get benefits from the sandbox that CST already provided. So just want to go over again with our panelists about having like a closing comments on what we have discussed and covered today. So start with Mr. Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So items I addressed, I guess, in conclusion, I would like regulators to view non-GSO systems as catalysts for expanding access to connectivity through partnership with incumbent operators. By creating supportive regulatory frameworks and incentive structures, governments can help unlock the full potential of these partnerships. This collaborative approach, rather than competitive one, offers the most promising path to expanding affordable, reliable connectivity to all populations, particularly in markets where the need is the greatest.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chris. So, Mr. Alex?
Thank you. And just to build on Chris's comments, my closing message is really let's take this opportunity to raise the standard of living for billions of people living in rural areas, extending urban benefits through in situ urbanization, through providing policy certainty in the form of stable, long-term regulatory frameworks, predictable access to spectrum, long-term licensing durations and renewal terms, support international coordination and adaptive regulation to enable these solutions to be financed and delivered.
Thanks, Mr. Alex. So, Mrs. Tatiana, so you can give a closing comment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really wanted to talk more about all the challenges because we want to close this one last mile, and we have challenges, and I'm sure everyone will be happy to discuss it further after the panel. But with the satellite connectivity, we still can close. This is how to close this last mile and this last gap or digital divide. And I think that having the finding the solution for regulatory frameworks to make it flexible, that will be a success to roll out service because the regulators in each country wants to bring the service and close last mile. We want to give this opportunity. We just need to work together how to close it and come to the same successful result. And I'm sure working together, we can make this universal connectivity reality. And I think this GSR is a great opportunity and platform to discuss it further since so many regulators are here. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mrs. Tatiana, for that comment. So, Mr. Fazli, if you can just share final comments on what we have discussed. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to be very short, and actually we ask regulators to promote competition for the benefits of their citizens. And we also believe that no one can close digital gap across the countries. Therefore, cooperation between regulators, operators from terrestrial and satellite operators are required. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fazli. So that's bring me to the final minutes of this discussion, and as you can or you heard from our panelists that this session has highlighted the promise and the complexity of last mile connectivity to provide services to the unconnected people. So I believe that regulatory frameworks and also having innovations is very important at connectivity of the last mile. So at the end, I just want to say thank you to our panelists, and thanks to Amazon who hosted with us this panel. And thank you all for your attendance and joining us today. Thank you. Thank you.